Big breaking coming in. Iranian state television has reported around 60 people, including 20 children, have been killed in an Israeli attack on a housing complex in the capital, Tehran. Well, earlier today, Israel had launched a second wave of attacks on Iran, and several loud explosions were heard in eastern Tehran. Iranian media has also reported explosions on the northern and southern outskirts of Tehran. Once again, reiterating for our viewers the latest news that's coming in. We have Iranian state television, which has reported around 60 people, which includes 20 children. They have been killed in an Israeli attack on a housing complex in the capital, Tehran. Well, earlier today, Israel had launched a second wave of attacks on Iran, and several loud explosions were heard in eastern Tehran. And Iranian media has also reported explosions on the northern and southern outskirts of Tehran. Iran state media has reported new Israeli strikes in west and northwest, which houses key defense and military bases. Well, state news agency says that strikes hit northwestern city of Tabriz as well as parts of western provinces of Loristan, Hamadan and Kermanshah. Pope Leo XIV has issued a passionate appeal calling on both Israel and Iran to step back from the brink. Well, with tensions escalating into the largest conflict yet between the two long-time foes, the Pope has urged leaders to choose responsibility and reason over violence and destruction.
The situation in Iran and Israel has seriously deteriorated, and at such a delicate moment, I feel compelled to strongly renew an appeal to responsibility and reason. The commitment to building a safer world, free from the nuclear threat, must continue through respectful engagement and sincere dialogue.
Well, he went on to stress the urgent need for a world free of nuclear threats, a world built on dialogue, respect, and sincere commitment to peace. And he said, no one should ever threaten the existence of the other.
To build a lasting peace, founded on justice, fraternity, and the common good, no one must ever work against the existence of another. It is the duty of all countries to support the cause of peace, initiating paths of reconciliation and promoting solutions that ensure security and dignity for all.
And for more on this, we're being joined live by Helit Parel. She's a former director at Israel's National Security Council. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast on WION World is One. Ms. Parel, let me begin by asking, what's your assessment of the situation right now, and how far do you think this conflict would escalate if both sides stay on their current trajectory?
Unfortunately, if that happens, I fear that we still have a ways to go in terms of hostilities, and Israel has a set of operational objectives it has just started pursuing in Iran, its nuclear program, its platforms for delivering, means of delivery of these weapons, its military leadership, the IRGC, who are involved in the promotion of this program and this attempt to cross the nuclear threshold. As we saw last night, Iran retaliates, and so it looks like, and in particular when Iran retaliates as it did last night against dense population centers rather than military targets, I presume this will still take a while.
Right, now, as you've mentioned that the threat of Iranian retaliation is imminent. Now, with Iran threatening further retaliation, what kind of defensive measures is Israel putting in place to protect its civilians and key infrastructure from a potential escalation?
Well, first of all, Israel has a wide range of aerial defenses. As you know, it's very multi-layered. It has several systems involved within Israel, including the Arrow. And we also have help in the region from the United States Regional Defense System, THAAD systems. And we also have very good passive defenses, which is why casualties so far, I'm thankful to say, have been low. The citizens of Israel are very well drilled in taking cover and finding the right safe spaces which are provided. And in addition to that, the Israeli public was expecting a very harsh response. We've been prepared to stay it for the long term. So what we have here with defenses that are both passive and active, a pretty solid answer to this, but nothing is ever hermetic. And as we saw, there have been some hits. And it wasn't an easy night. I also have to say that the first day of operations that Israel took in Iran also had to do with really continuing to diminish Iran's air defenses and Iran's ability to launch. So what we're seeing is probably a lesser retaliation than we would have otherwise.
Right, Ms. Barul, and according to reports, at least 20 Iranian military commanders and 6 nuclear scientists were killed in the attack. How much of a blow do you think this is to Iran's capabilities?
I think it's an important blow. I think, these are people who were spearheading this effort to cross the nuclear threshold, which is coupled with their rhetoric of the annihilation of Israel. And we have learned through many incidents, the last of which is October 7th, to take it very serious when people threaten us with annihilation. So those people who are involved in that effort were targeted. I'm sure that this will be a setback for Iran. Having said that, I'm sure that they will very quickly work to try and replace that and reproduce a functioning system. We'll have to see how viable that is.
Absolutely, we'll have to see and how it develops. But meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu has described Iran as the head of the octopus, basically the center of a network of groups across the region, from Houthis to Hezbollah and to Hamas. Well, beyond dismantling Iran's nuclear capabilities, do you think that these strikes also reflect a broader strategy to undermine Iran's influence in the region?
I think Iran's influence has been significantly undermined in the region since October 7th, which was a plan, by the way, instigated and planned and promoted by Iran. It has lost its main proxy in Hezbollah. Hamas is in shambles in the Gaza Strip. Syria, Assad has fallen. So I think Iran's influence in the region in terms of its conventional capability and its ability to activate its proxies, while still existing in places like somewhat the Iranian militias in Iraq and within the Houthis in Yemen, is greatly, greatly diminished. The main issue is and always has been the ability of Iran to employ a nuclear military capability while threatening and trying to annihilate Israel in a very outwards way. So I think the main goal of this is absolutely dealing with the nuclear threat. It would have been terrific if it could have been done through the various rounds of conversations that the United States held with Iran, but seeing as that seemed to go nowhere and President Trump was very disheartened with what he thought was possible to achieve and what worked out. And in addition to the IAEA report and the issue of the Iranian non-compliance with the NPT, which was just the beginning of what we know and we let the world see, which is Iran is racing towards the nuclear threshold to pass it. And so that is the main goal. That is the main issue. And I might say it really isn't the main issue just for Israel. Everybody in the world needs to be concerned about a nation like Iran expressly threatening to annihilate Israel and threatening all of its neighbors having any kind of nuclear capability. And I would remind that the long-term missiles it has can reach the continent of Europe as well. It doesn't reach just Israel. So it really needs to be dealt with.
Right. Ms. Barrett, we'd like to get your perspective on one more facet of the conflict right now. Now, there's a view that Prime Minister Netanyahu may be trying to use these attacks to pursue a wider objective. And it's by possibly weakening Iran's leadership or even forcing a change in its regime. What's your take on the impact of these strikes that may have in Iran and across the region?
Look, if this regime, for any reason, as a consequence of this attack, implodes and loses its status and its ability to rule in Iran, I think everybody would be better off. First and foremost, the Iranian people, who are absolutely not enemies of the Israeli people and who we have affinity for. And so, you know, if that happens, that would be great. But I personally believe that is an internal Iranian issue. I don't think Israel believes it's its place or its capability to bring that about. That is something a nation has to do for itself. I see from the strikes that they are very, very precise. We are encountering, in a very precise way, nuclear facilities, platforms that launch missiles and other means of delivery, any kind of weaponization for nuclear weapons, and those individuals within the security establishment of this Iranian regime who are the main promoters of this effort to achieve nuclear weapons. We're not touching the political leadership, and I don't think Israel has, while we would certainly rejoice like many others if this regime was gone, that's not what this is about.
Right, Ms. Barron, also talk to us about till what extent could this conflict actually escalate given the current circumstances?
Well, I think we're looking at it. You know, I have to tell you, I spent most of the night in a shelter with my children. We had many missiles, many alerts. We could hear them, we could see them. We're talking about very significant hits compared to what we saw before, because they were targeted at population, very dense population concentrations. And so I think, though, that this is pretty much what this will look like. And the question is, how long will it last? It's kind of a war of attrition between the very advanced Israeli capability to take out infrastructures in Iran and advanced capabilities and missiles, and how many missiles are they willing to spend on this every day? Will they do it intensively, 200, 300 a night? Will they do it 50 a day? That's basically what we have seen from Iran. This is now the third attack. We had one in April, we had one in October of 2024. So this is now the third attack. It's pretty much the same. The magnitude is different, but the weapons and the tools that we're seeing are pretty much the same. This could last a while. We, as Israeli citizens, are preparing for it to last for a while. We don't expect it to be, one and done. But I think that's pretty much what we'll continue to see, a back and forth.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Barrett, for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you.